My family canceled my flight as a joke and left me stranded at the airport, so I cut off every dollar of financial support. Hey Reddit. I've been reading posts here for years, but this is my first time sharing my own story. I've been holding this in for a while, trying to sort through everything that happened. I think I'm finally ready to talk about it. Sorry this is long, but I really need to get it out. For some background, I'm 34, female, and I work as a senior software engineer at a fintech startup in Seattle. I never thought the people who raised me would stab me in the back, but there I was, humiliated and abandoned at the airport, all because my family thought it would be funny to cancel my flight to a dream vacation I practically paid for. That day, I learned a brutal truth: sometimes, the family you bleed for will only see you as an ATM. Look, I make good money. Not private island money, but enough to live comfortably and, more importantly, to help out my family. And man, did I help them. You'll understand why that stings in a minute. My parents, who are 62 and 58, and my younger brother, Alex, he's 27, have always been, let's just say, quirky. Growing up, they absolutely loved practical jokes. And I mean loved them. Birthdays, graduations, holidays, nothing was off limits. They'd pull some stupid prank, usually harmless stuff like fake gifts or jumping out of closets. I was always the butt of the joke, never the one playing it. Honestly, that should have been my first red flag, but when it's family, you just make excuses, right? I still remember my 16th birthday. My dad got me all hyped up about finally getting a car. He blindfolded me, led me out to the driveway, making a huge show of it. I ripped off the blindfold, my heart pounding, and there it was, a toy car with a big bow on it. They laughed for weeks about that one while I spent the next 2 years saving up for a beat-up used Honda. That was just one example. Then there was college. I got accepted with a partial scholarship, and they threw this huge party, invited the whole extended family. They announced to everyone how proud they were and that they'd be paying for my entire education. 2 weeks later, they told me it was just a joke and I needed to apply for student loans. I'm 34 years old and still have $42,000 in student debt because of that prank. Can you believe it? Anyway, as I got older and my career took off, I became the family's financial backbone. My dad lost his job about 7 years ago and just stopped trying. He spends his days golfing or watching sports with his buddies, complaining about the economy. My mom works part-time, but mostly she's at this ridiculously expensive salon, getting her hair and nails done weekly, all on my dime, naturally. She always says she deserves to look nice and reminds me how she sacrificed her career to raise us whenever I questioned an expense. And my brother, Alex? He's one of those eternal students, changed his major 4 times, still hasn't graduated. First engineering, too much math. Then psychology, too depressing. Then communications, too boring. Now he's studying business at a private university, and you guessed it, I'm paying for it. He parties constantly, barely passes, but gets defensive if I even suggest community college. Over the years, I was shelling out roughly $7,000 a month to support them. Alex's tuition, the payments on my parents' house, dad's golf club membership, mom's salon expenses, a family emergency fund they dipped into regularly, credit card bills, car payments, the works. I wouldn't have minded if they were genuinely struggling, but they just stopped trying. They took expensive weekend trips, bought new gadgets, ate out constantly. Meanwhile, I was living in a modest 1-bedroom apartment, driving a 10-year-old car, because so much of my money was funneling to them. I never complained, though. Family helps family, right? My ex-boyfriend, Kevin, he's 31, he told me countless times they were taking advantage of me. But I always defended them. They'd do the same for me, I'd say. Spoiler alert, they absolutely wouldn't. Kevin and I actually broke up last year, partly because of this. He couldn't stand watching them use me while they mocked me behind my back. Yes, he overheard them once, making fun of me for being such a sucker. I didn't believe him then, accused him of trying to come between me and my family. Oh, how I owe him an apology. But that's a whole other story. So, about 6 months ago, we started planning this big family vacation to Hawaii. This wasn't some last-minute thing, we'd been talking about it for over a year. I spent months working overtime to help cover the costs. We're talking premium flights, an oceanfront suite, rental car, the whole 9 yards. I personally put in about $8,500 for upgrades and extras. I was so excited. I hadn't taken a real vacation in almost 3 years because I was always too busy working or bailing them out of some financial emergency. The idea of a week on the beach, no laptop, no code to debug, no production issues at 2 a.m., it sounded like paradise. I'd been having some health issues, too, high blood pressure, trouble sleeping, constant headaches my doctor said were stress-related. This vacation was supposed to be my chance to finally relax. I planned everything meticulously, booked the perfect ocean view, researched restaurants, even arranged a surprise helicopter tour for everyone. I wanted it to be special, maybe even a turning point in how we related as a family. The morning of the trip, we all piled into my dad's SUV, the one I pay the lease on, of course, and headed to the airport. The excitement was real. My parents were chatting about the beach, Alex was glued to his phone, and I was just happy to finally get a break from my 60-hour work weeks. When we reached the check-in counter, my dad handed over the boarding passes. I noticed him and Alex exchange these weird looks, but I didn't think anything of it. The airline employee scanned the tickets, then frowned when she got to mine. "I'm sorry, ma'am," she said, "but I'm not seeing your reservation in our system." I blinked. "What? That can't be right. We booked together as a family." She typed something else. "It looks like your ticket was cancelled 2 days ago." That's when I heard it. Snickering. I turned around to see my mom, dad, and brother all struggling to contain their laughter. Alex had his phone out, obviously recording my reaction. My stomach dropped like a stone. "What's going on?" I asked, a horrible realization dawning on me. But I still couldn't believe it. Then my dad clapped me on the back, grinning like he'd just told the funniest joke ever. "Surprise, daughter," he practically crowed. "You're not coming." My phone buzzed. A text from my dad, "The plane's not for you. Go on a train, loser." I was in shock. This is a joke, right? You guys didn't actually cancel my ticket. "Oh, don't be so dramatic," my mom said, rolling her eyes. "We thought it would be funny. You always take things too seriously." But I paid for half of this trip. I heard my voice, embarrassingly shaky. I covered the hotel upgrades, the rental car. "You work all the time anyway," my dad shrugged, already turning away. "Thought you might enjoy a little staycation." Alex wouldn't even look at me, still focused on his phone. "Relax. It's just a prank. You'll survive." The airline employee looked utterly uncomfortable, glancing between us with a pained expression. She'd clearly seen family drama, but this was something else entirely. A line was forming behind us, people checking their watches impatiently, and here I was, having my entire vacation yanked out from under me as a joke. "Ma'am, I'm sorry, but I need to help the next customer," she said quietly. "If you want to purchase a new ticket, you can try customer service, but the flight is leaving in 2 hours and it might be fully booked." They left me standing there at the check-in counter, surrounded by strangers watching this humiliating scene unfold. My own family had just deliberately excluded me from a vacation I helped pay for, and they thought it was hilarious. They were already heading toward security, laughing and chatting like nothing had happened, while I stood there with my useless suitcase and crushed expectations. I stood there for a good 5 minutes, just processing. The anger built slowly, then all at once. This wasn't just a harmless prank. This was a message. I wasn't family to them. I was an ATM with legs. I texted back a simple, "Okay," and left the airport. They probably thought I was going to slink home and sulk, maybe binge Netflix until they got back. Oh no. I had other plans. The drive home was a blur. I remember gripping the steering wheel so tightly my knuckles turned white, fighting back tears of humiliation and pure, white-hot rage. Not just about the vacation, but about the years. Years of being used and mocked by the people who were supposed to love me most. The moment I got back to my apartment, where I live alone with my goldfish, Maurice, yes, I named him after the character from Beauty and the Beast, judge me, I sat down at my computer. I pulled up my banking app and just stared at it for a minute, looking at all the recurring payments. The monthly transfer to my parents' checking account, $3,400. Alex's tuition payment due next week, $9,000. Dad's golf club membership, $800. Mom's salon fund, $750. Plus random Venmo requests they sent practically weekly. It was all there, in black and white, the evidence of how completely I'd been letting myself be used for years. I told myself it was just me being a good daughter, a good sister. But now I saw it for what it really was, exploitation, pure and simple. I went to the kitchen and poured myself a stiff drink. My hands were shaking. I texted my old therapist, Dr. K, and asked if I could get an emergency session. Then I went back to my computer. For the first time, I saw these transfers for what they truly were. Not help, not support, but exploitation. These people had just humiliated me in public, laughed in my face, and left me stranded after I'd worked myself to the bone to help give them a luxury vacation. F that noise. I started canceling everything. First, Alex's tuition payment due in a week. Cancel next, Dad's precious golf club membership. Cancel Mom's salon fund. Bye-bye that emergency account they treated like their personal piggy bank. Password changed. Access revoked. I went through my credit cards and removed them as authorized users. I contacted my bank and made sure they couldn't access any of my accounts. I even called the rental car company in Hawaii and canceled the reservation. They could figure out their own transportation. It took me less than 15 minutes to undo years of financial dependence. And you know what? I felt effing great. Like I'd just lost 300 pounds of dead weight. My phone buzzed with a text from my mom. Just landed. The beach is amazing. Hope you're not too mad, sweetheart. It was just a joke. Love you. I turned off my phone without responding. Let them enjoy their vacation. The storm would be waiting when they got back. For the next week, I did exactly what they thought I'd do. I stayed home, watched Netflix, and ordered way too much takeout. But I also did something else. I started therapy again. Dr. K fit me in the very next day, and we had 3 intense sessions that week. Turns out being your family's personal bank while they treat you like trash does a number on your self-esteem. Who knew, right? Dr. K helped me realize how toxic this dynamic had been for years. We talked about boundaries, self-worth, and the difference between helping family and enabling harmful behavior. You're not helping them by letting them use you, she said. You're actually making it easier for them to avoid growing up and taking responsibility for themselves. I also reconnected with Kevin. I sent him a long email explaining everything that had happened and apologizing for not listening to his warnings. He agreed to meet for coffee, and though we're not back together romantically, it was healing to have his validation that I wasn't crazy for feeling used. The first message came 3 days into their trip. Alex, hey, Nomi, my tuition payment is due. Can you send it over? No apology, not even an acknowledgement of what happened. Just straight to asking for money. The effing audacity. Oh, I think you should ask Mom and Dad, I replied. After all, they're the ones in charge now, right? He didn't respond right away. A few hours later, my mom messaged, Nomi, honey, I need you to send the usual for the salon. The payment is overdue. You wouldn't want your mother to be embarrassed, would you? Again, no apology, no mention of the prank, just the assumption that I'd keep the cash flowing. Sorry, Mom, I texted back. I'm taking a break from paying for things. Maybe try a cheaper salon or ask Dad. Then came the inevitable call from my father. I almost didn't answer, but part of me wanted to hear what excuse he'd come up with. The moment I picked up, he was already yelling. "Nomi, what the hell is this nonsense? The golf club just emailed me saying my membership payment was declined. Are you seriously not covering it this month?" I couldn't help but laugh. "Oh, you mean your golf club membership? The one you made fun of me for never using?" "Yeah, I cancelled that. Figured you could afford it yourself. Or maybe take a train to a public park instead, loser." There was a pause before he exploded. "Don't be ridiculous. You've always covered it. What kind of daughter refuses to help her own family? The kind whose family thinks it's funny to cancel her flight and leave her stranded like a joke," I replied, surprised at how calm I sounded. Another silence, then the predictable guilt trip. "You're overreacting. It was just a joke. Now stop this nonsense and send the money." "Not happening," I said firmly. "Maybe you should budget better or cut back on those expensive vacations." I hung up before he could respond. For the first time in years, I felt something close to peace. They had relied on me for so long without a second thought, assuming my wallet would always be open. Well, not anymore. Over the next few days, their messages became increasingly desperate. Alex tried calling 3 more times, each voicemail more urgent than the last. My mother sent a novel-length text about how family supports each other, the irony apparently lost on her. My father alternated between rage and emotional manipulation, neither of which worked. Then I got a message from my mom, "Nomi, we're coming home early. We need to talk." Perfect, I thought. Let them come. I spent the next day preparing. I cleaned my apartment spotlessly, bought groceries for myself only, and even put on a nice shirt. I wanted to look completely put together, not like someone who'd been devastated by their prank. I also prepared mentally. Dr. K and I role-played the confrontation, anticipating their arguments and manipulations. I wrote down key points and practiced saying no without justification or apology. It felt strange. I'd spent so many years saying yes to them automatically. The moment they walked through my door, the tension was palpable. My father threw his carry-on down, face red with fury. My mother followed, still wearing her expensive sunglasses pushed up on her head, as if she'd just stepped out of a magazine instead of a family crisis. Alex slunk in behind them, looking more worried than angry. "How dare you," my father growled. "You cancelled everything. My golf membership, your mother's salon, and your brother's tuition." I leaned back in my chair, arms crossed. "That's right. Thought it was funny to leave me stranded at the airport? Well, I'm just returning the favor." My mother's mouth opened and closed, but no words came out. Alex wasn't as restrained. "Nomi, come on," he pleaded, the cockiness from the airport completely gone. "My tuition is due. I'll get kicked out of school." I laughed. Not a happy laugh, but a cold one. Not my problem. Maybe Mom and Dad should have thought of that before playing their little prank. My father slammed his palm on my coffee table, making my PlayStation controller jump. "We are your family. We raised you. You owe us." I stood up then, looking him directly in the eye. "No, I don't. You've taken my money for granted, treated me like a walking ATM, and humiliated me. Congratulations. Now you're on your own." My mother started crying. Those big, crocodile tears she's so good at producing on command. "It was just a joke, sweetheart. We didn't think you'd take it this way. And this is just a lesson," I replied, grabbing my keys. "I'm going out. Lock up when you leave." As I reached the door, I couldn't resist one parting shot. "Good luck figuring things out, losers." The look on their faces was almost worth the lost vacation. Almost. The aftermath was both satisfying and sad. For days, my phone blew up with calls and texts that I mostly ignored. They tried everything, Guilt trips, apologies, anger, even threats to tell the extended family I was abandoning them. None of it worked. Dr. K helped me stay strong, reminding me that their reactions were just more manipulation. I started living for myself for the first time in years. I bought some new clothes, started hitting the gym, and even put a deposit down on a nicer apartment, all things I'd been putting off because I was funneling so much money to my family. My health improved almost immediately. My blood pressure started coming down, I was sleeping better, and those constant headaches disappeared. My performance at work improved, too, and my boss noticed. I got put on a more interesting project and started feeling passionate about coding again, instead of just seeing it as a way to support everyone else. Then the real panic set in for them. My parents' bank account hit zero. Bills started piling up, and reality finally sank in. They'd been living beyond their means for years with me quietly covering the gap. And now that safety net was gone. About a week after our confrontation, I got a video call request. Against my better judgment, I answered. My mother's face filled the screen, her usual perfect makeup replaced by puffy eyes and exhaustion. "Nomi, please," she whispered. We need your help. We didn't realize how much we depended on you." My father appeared behind her, his pride visibly crushed. "Look, daughter," he forced out. "We made a mistake, but punishing us like this, it's too much." Alex leaned into frame. "Nomi, I'm going to get kicked out of school. Please, just help with the tuition, at least." I let the silence stretch out, watching them squirm. Part of me wanted to cave, to fall back into the pattern we'd established for years. But I remembered Dr. K's words, helping them now would only reinforce that they can treat you however they want with no consequences. I gave them the answer they feared. "No." Their faces crumpled. My mother sobbed. My father's head dropped. Alex cursed under his breath. But I felt nothing. Not guilt, not regret, just a profound sense of finally standing up for myself. "I'm done being used," I said quietly. "Figure it out yourselves." I ended the call and sat in silence for a long time afterward. Breaking free from their manipulation was both liberating and painful. These were the people who raised me, who were supposed to love me unconditionally. Instead, they'd seen me as nothing more than a resource to exploit. In the months since then, a lot has changed. My parents had to downsize to a much smaller house in a less prestigious neighborhood. Dad actually got a job at a sporting goods store. Imagine that, working for a living. Mom switched to a budget salon and started picking up more shifts at the boutique. Alex transferred to community college and got a part-time job as a barista. The first few months were rough. They'd call me crying about how they couldn't pay bills or how embarrassed they were to lose their status symbols. The extended family got involved, too. Aunts and uncles calling to tell me I should forgive and forget because they're still your parents. I had to block a few numbers for a while. As for me, I got a promotion at work. Turns out when you're not constantly stressed about supporting 4 adults, your job performance improves. I joined a hiking group and started making new friends who didn't know me as the family ATM. I even adopted a second goldfish to keep Maurice company. I named her Lumiere, continuing the Beauty and the Beast theme. And I met someone new, Martin. We've been dating for about 2 months now, and it's different, healthier. He actually appreciates me for who I am, not what I can provide. The first time he insisted on splitting the check on a date, I almost cried. It seems so simple, but after years of one-way financial relationships, it felt revolutionary. I've kept up with therapy, too, working through the complex emotions of setting boundaries with toxic family members. Dr. K says I've made incredible progress, but there's still work to do, especially around my tendency to people please and my fear of confrontation. My parents and brother have made some tentative attempts at reconciliation. Small texts here and there, awkward phone calls on holidays. I'm civil, but distant. Dr. K says that's healthy. I don't need to cut them off completely if I don't want to, but I also don't need to jump back into financially supporting them. The last time my dad called, he actually asked how I was doing before mentioning money. Progress, I guess. My mom sent a birthday card that didn't include a Venmo request. Baby steps. Alex is actually doing better in community college than he ever did at the private university. Turns out having to work for something gives you motivation to succeed. Will I ever trust them completely again? Probably not. But I've learned something invaluable through all this. Real family doesn't treat you like an ATM. And real love doesn't come with humiliation. Sometimes, the healthiest thing you can do is step back and say, enough. Oh, and I finally took that Hawaii vacation. Solo. Turns out watching the sunset over the ocean is much more enjoyable when you're not surrounded by people calculating how much they can squeeze out of you. I even did that helicopter tour I'd originally booked for the family. The pilot asked if I was sad to be seeing the islands alone, and I just smiled. Not at all, I told him. For the first time in years, I'm exactly where I want to be.